Frosty and yet a sunny evening in the early new year. John McGrath of Coolaclarrig is tackling the horses, which will soon be dressed to do battle with the good earth and to let the rich land lie in state to await its resurrection in the springtime when the wheat seeds will come to their miraculous ripening. Different today from the old days when the land was barren.
Before you start away, don't feed him on soft turnips. Take him down to your green lawn, and then you might be able for to plough the rocks of Bon.
I turn the lea green down gaily now, and paint the meadow brown with my plough. I dream with silvery gull and brazen crow, a thing that is beautiful, that all may know. Tranquility walks with me, and no care. Oh, the quiet ecstasy like a prayer. I find a star lovely art in a dark sod, a joy that is timeless, oh, heart that knows God. And there it is, the virgin earth screaming before the irresistible rape of the plough, or indeed like the prow of a marauding ship cleaving through the ocean billows. Sunset and silence, a man, around him earth savage, earth broken, beside him two horses, a plough, earth savage, earth broken. I will go with my father a-ploughing to the green field by the sea, and the rooks and the crows and the seagulls will come flocking after me. I will sing to the patient horses with the lark in the white of the air, and my father will sing the plough song that blesses the cleaving share. Now, leave the check rein slack, the seed is flying far today, the seed like stars against the black eternity of April clay. High on an oak sat a jolly old crow, he chatted away with glee, with glee. He saw the old farmer going out to sow, and he cried, "'Tis all for me, for me." Jim Toomey is going out to sow, but it isn't for the crows. "I'll do my own crowing," says Jim. And there he is digging away, preparing his boggy haggard and drummond. He digs and stirs and sifts the soil with a four-pronger, blood brother of the trusty pikes that shone in battle for the gallant men of '98. Down by the surging river that dark mass of men were seen, and high above their flashing weapons hung their own beloved green. That to every foe and traitor forward strike the marching tune, for the pikes must be together at the rising of the moon. Igolavo on Chrysorge Inishige. The Sugan, that'll be like a monastic girdle about his waist, medieval, and the seed in the bucket. Jim sets rye for thatching, just enough to cover the roof that will nestle on his shelter of rafters. There he's scattering it out, like a gambler who is free with his change. In some parts of Ireland, the people favour the wheat straw for thatching. But the old thatcher will always swear by the rye straw. As Jim Toomey said, "The rye straw has long tough stems that form a defence as tough as a Kerryfull backline by." The Sally tree, sacred to poets and the sweetheart of spring. The Sally buds are peeping out like nosy neighbours through their keyholes to see if spring, the first lady of the seasons, is on her way. The primroses of the Bonyabo Blocht winking there. A pretty princess once milked a cow in Holy Island, and the milk drops that fell upon the ground were turned into flowers and were thereafter called Bonyabo Blocht. The gay garden that is childhood's, three little girls running to admire their blossoming relations, and the god of imagination makes them angels for a day. Wouldn't it be nice to think that life holds no future and no past but this? It was all on an April evening. April airs were abroad, and the sheep with their little lambs passed me by on the road. The children of God and the Lamb of God are always in mystical union under the auspices of the Good Shepherd, unseen by the eyes but known by the heart. The Lord is my shepherd, said the lamb. I shall not want. He teaches me to lie down in green pastures. Golden stockings you had on in the meadow where you ran, and your little knees together bobbed like pippins in the weather, when the breezes rush and fight for those dimples of the light, and they dance from the pursuit, and the leaf looks like a fruit. I have many a sight in mind that would last if I were blind, many verses I could write that would bring me many a sight. Now I only see but one, see you running in the sun, and gold dust coming up from the trampled buttercup. I speak not for one, but for the children of the many townlands, blossoms of the bogland, flowers of the valley, who know not yesterday nor tomorrow, and are happy, the pride of those who have begot them. The lamb shall lie down with the lion, says the good book, and the sword shall be turned into the plowshare. And the lamb with the heart of a child shall become one with the child, in the arms of a child. All day long the young lambs bleating stand for covering where the scant grass is under the grey wall, or seeking softer shelter under tattered fleeces, nuzzle the warm mothers of their mothers. Od sciach atina oilnach driechtan furtig, the winds of the ancient forest, the golden gateway to the bog. All year round the wind can show a blossom or two, but it's in full bloom now, as if the small yolk stain from all the birds' eggs in all the nests of the springtime were spilled and hung everywhere on bushes to ripen. Jim Toomey, in silent soliloquy, amid the peat of the Graffa bog, where the Canavan white waves her flag of dawn. Away in the long distance is the purple heather, the name God gave to the bogland brown. Jim might have grown out of the bog, he is so much a part of it, as tuned to its moods as he is accustomed to its strange silences. A thinking man, ever hankering after perfections in what he does, he likes to be on his lonesome. So, this hermit of the heather is now a cutting of the turf by himself. Vi sé rivan éiner, ma de hana éiner leis, no girian bert boher, a glitan chanacus, ober an furtig. I cut the turf all on my own, not being bothered by some Amadan. I sink down my slan and I lift up a wet brick, and over it goes with a neat little flick. One day a fellow said to Jim, "You want a hand?" "A hand is it? 'Tisn't a hand you'd be at all by, but a handicap." And there he is, with that face that seems to echo out of that soil. The sods with their baked crusts would nearly pass for baker's pan loaves, scooped as they are from the great steaming oven of the bog. But to Jim Toomey, they're an army, Jim's army. Come on, you sods, get a move on. The sods, like privates, have their bivouac. In another time, another place, they will come under fire in the trenches of our fireplaces during the long, long battle of the season after Christmas, the battle that General Winter always wins, as indeed Napoleon and Mr. Hitler found out. Jim knew the bog long before he knew its name. They were in love with each other before they were introduced. His life is bounded by the bog. He knows little of the outside world, but he does know that beautiful, beautiful God is breeding his love by a cutaway bog. On her way to milking, Cathy Mack, Jim's wife, may well be remembering the two sweetest musics in Ireland, the lowing of a cow in the evening and the slender stream siphoning into a pail. A quiet store, may your tea be never short of colouring. Gile na gile, the chunirker shlee and whiteness. O brightness of brightness, I see your miracle of light. June, bridesmaid of the sun, and Pat Walsh of Kilgarvan, by force of circumstances, faithful bridegroom to his farm. Are you all right there with the horse, Pat? You're a game ball, by game ball. No worry, Tall, no. He talks to the horse as he would to a brother. Steady, steady, widow, hold up. You're hold up there, girl, quiet, quiet. That's it now. Are you sure all right, Pat? I'm fine, fine, fine. And the daisies, a dairy of daisies. No needy mooranish, bright swaths falling like the angels of Lucifer out of their heaven into the common earth, what to come down. There was a great tradition of horsemanship in the Welsh family for many years, even up to the present day. A respect because the horse was an extension of the family, as much the breadwinner as the Faratee himself. For Pat, high yields are vital to the economy of his farm in order to meet the cost of high stocking rates. Pat is on his own now, except for his Uncle Paddy, who can make deft use of the edge with his nifty right and his nimble left hand, what the town is called ambidextrous, but what the country people simply call handy out by. Like all the king's horses and all the king's men, they all fall down, the Humpty Dumptys of the meadow. Oh, there's a bumper crop this year, enough to fill every barn in the wide realm of Munster. And indeed, these are wide and windy and rich acres. Now he's clearing back the hay from the bar. And there is Pat, lording it over all in the chariot of the meadows. Ah, yes, changing times. This is the last year that Pat will be able to cope with hay saving by the use of horsepower. The tractor is coming in its place. Getting up early promises well. Ass and car and tank and man, this milky circus on the road induces thoughts of a sleeping world and a waking God. This hour has something sacred. The bells have a ringing tune, but now I am content to watch the day begin to bloom. Over the wooden bridge they know so well, a dulga saw sulga the Anoxulin. You might say to him, "Is that milk fresh, my friend?" And he'd answer you, "Fresh? You're a byborn. It was grass a couple of hours ago." The faithful brown horse, ruthlessly relegated now to the substitute bench, idly watches the upstart tractor, that Johnny jump-up of the newfangled mobile notions, the mechanical bucko that was never fitted for shoes by the smith in the forge. They say that the horse is man's best friend, but you'd wonder now, wouldn't you? Was the man ever the horse's best friend? Mar a couple agus your fair, the gear a fuss a coit. The creamery, the rural reservoir into which flowed the stream of a whole community's life, the poor parliament of the small farmer, where every humble voice was listened to and every great need attended to. The big tanker, the real villain of the heavy brigade, the hefty tug with the two metal bellies, that rapacious robot of a road tanker. No class, no background. I wouldn't give a fiddlestick for them.
Down by the sunny gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the sunny gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves fall from the tree. But I was young and foolish, with her did not agree. In a field beyond the river, my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she placed her snow white hand. She bid me take love easy as the grass grows on the wheels. But I was young and foolish, and now am full of tears.
On Colleen das Cruiter no Mo. Long and long ago, long before the time of Cathy, a servant girl milked a fairy cow by mistake one evening. The vessel she was milking in didn't hold half the milk. 4 times she filled her vessel, and no cow had ever filled it until that time. Up the sea, saddened valley, at evening's decline, a heifer walks lowing the silk of the kine. From the deep to the mountain she roams, and again from the mountain's green urn to the purple-rimmed main. And there is Jim and Cathy, homeward bound. A contemplation of nature by Jim, and Cathy joins him. They came here often in old times, but faith, if Cathy has a ladder in her stocking, Jim has a ladder in his garden, he can go one better. Well, holy God, such a place to have a ladder. You'd swear he was going down a well, which reminds me of what Ton Summers, the odd job man, said one time. The first time I ever went down a ladder, it was up a well, but will you look at that, like Roman spears, taller than the height of a man. Jim examining them with loving care. Oh, this might have been the first time Eden was breathed upon mankind. Rye in the old days was primarily grown to produce the ideal material for thatching, so that a house might be given a winsome shape. But nowadays, if I may make a rye comment, rye is grown to produce rye bread to help our esteemed ladyfolk achieve a more exotic physical shape. Slim, trim, and brimful of energy. Yet I sure the world has gone mad, stone daft. The fuchsia, Jory kissed, Christ's tears which fell like blood on the bushes of Gethsemane. The fairy thimbles where the people of the Shee assemble in their midnight councils. The thistle seed, gossamer white. Soon, all too soon, they'll be parachuted away by the wind, making a safe landing in some friendly field, there to lodge and linger in their winter quarters, until spring will send her summons to mobilize again and join her ranks of green, to renew the cycle of life and to put old Sergeant Death in his place. So, cut for me life's bread, for me poor wine. The ears of corn droop with fullness, listening to the voice of Mother Nature herself, which tells them very gently, you have ripened and come of age, with a dowry of glory in your purses. So, sing from your roots to your stems, from your stems to the heavens, and toss your heads proudly in a golden celebration of the treasures you bestow. Hard work never killed any man, but it helped him fill his frying pan. And Dennis O'Connor is a good example of this. He is near to the 70, but from the way he wields his scythe like a scimitar, you'd think it was sweet 17 he is. It's never easy cutting rye, the wind may blow it across the sky, The rain may fall right through the day, and harvest hopes go far astray. Still the Kerry heart is like the spring, it'll gamble all on a final fling, and as surely as the bird takes wing, in loss or gain it'll proudly sing. We never died of a winter yet, by a better team we were never bet. When the hay is sailed and Cork is met, a harvest rile we will surely get. Now, Dennis O'Connor comes from Clonprofis, a mile or so down the road from Clonmacon School. Partly because of the convenient adjacency of its famous school, Clonmacon enfolded a number of the surrounding townlands under her wing, as a hen would her chickens, and by dint of her scholastic clucking, encouraged them to gain not alone fame in the North Kerry area, but far, far beyond its wide boundaries. Fakes, they were the hardy scholars, and what they couldn't beat with their fists, they won with their brains. People at work in the countryside were never surprised to see a neighbour call to lend a helping hand. It's Gura called then on others. Before the Industrial Revolution, a countryman had so many neighbours with similar surnames that he was forced to use nicknames to distinguish one from the other. For instance, Mick O'Sullivan was entitled Mick the Yank to differentiate between him and the huge O'Sullivans who inhabited the same townland of Bunagara or Buniyara, the bottom of the garden. He was called Mick the Yank on account of his father having spent a short while in America. The gift of the cutting wasn't given to everyone to produce a perfect edge on a reaping hook. There was even a pishogue, which was called Ota Onir, the edge charm, which was always recited like a prayer so as to magic the hook into a sharpness. May the wind put bite on it, and the sun strike light on it, the moon put spite on it, and the wind put fight in it. How's she cutting, Mick? She isn't cutting as well as I expected, but then I didn't expect she would. Clonmacon boys were great, Clonmacon boys had faith, for they fought straight in love or hate, Clonmacon boys hooray. 'Tis they could tell the yarns as quickly as a dog on the trot around the corners of the bog. Boys, oh boys, but 'tis they could play leapfrog. But in football they were kings, in midfield on the wings, they bubble up like springs when dancing round in rings, Clonmacon could do things. At the cutting of the rye, they sought help from God on high. In weather wet or dry, their best they'd always try, throwing caution to the sky. The best metal that you'd find to cut the rye or bind, with Clonprofismen behind and the Pollock boys to wind, sweet Clonmacon kept their noses to the grind. Mick the Yank had his own opinion of himself, and that indeed was a golden opinion. He had his own opinion of other people too, and they had their opinions of him. But in the latter end, it was a good opinion they all had of one another. But fair dues, Mick the Yank, with an overweening sense of modesty, gave it up to himself that he was the choice expert and champion binder in all North Kerry. I am the top-notcher, and that is no lie, for edging and binding beneath the blue sky. The use of a sheaf of corn to find a drowned body is well known. The sheaf, with a lighted candle set upon it, was laid on the water at that spot where the unfortunate victim had fallen in, and it was then allowed to drift with the current until it came to rest where the body might be found. And sometimes, too, a lone chief was left in the field at the end of the harvest in a thanksgiving for the good yield. The ceremony is completed by stooking the sheaves, and the full stook enjoys the celebration of a coronation. John Joe McGrath and son John, a cutting of the barley o in the big field. I will go with my father a reaping to the brown field by the sea, and the geese and the crows and the children will come flocking after me. I will sing to the weary reapers with the wren in the heat of the sun, and my father will sing the scythe song that joys for the harvest done. It must surely have been at this time of the year that Father O'Grady received an urgent summons as he called to a house in Kilcolligan. The priest made ready the sacred appurtenances and stowed away the blessed viaticum. Then, putting on his coat and hat, out the door he went and saddled his good roan mare. All went well with horse and rider until the fort of the Barley in the outskirts of Kilcolligan shone into view, and shone is the right word, boys, for the fort was lit as bright as day. Suddenly, the mare stopped, foaming something fearful at the mouth. Budge or move she would not, despite the priest's frantic protestations, just as he cried, "Araig, araig, lat!" A strange, sweet music stole across the air. The priest let go his reins and cocked an ear. He listened, spellbound. But sad to say, he listened too long, for when, hours later, he reached the house of the sick, the patient had passed on to another region. But whether it was up he went or down, I couldn't tell you. I was never much good at geography. A plenteous place is Ireland for hospitable cheer, where the wholesome fruit is bursting from the yellow barley ear. Large and profitable are the stacks upon the ground, the butter and the cream do wondrously abound. The cress is on the water and the sorrels are at hand, and the cuckoo is calling daily his note of music bland on the fair hills of Holy Ireland. Stephen Roach garners his harvest of turf from Foran's bog with the help of Deirdre and Anne-Marie. The mirrors in the bog holes catching their images as they pass, and the brown sod spreads its carpet for the feet of every lass. The handmaids of the bog are they, cousins to Cannavon and Heather. Out of their work they will make sweet play, be it wet or sunny weather. Stephen has dedicated 50 years of his life to the wooing and the working of the bog. Among these turf stacks graze no iron horses, such as Stalk, such as champ in towns, and the souls of crowds. Here is no mass production of neat thoughts, no canvas shrouds for the mind, nor any black hearses. The peasant shambles on his boots like hooves, without thinking at all, or wanting to run in grooves. The children with their upset barrow, the seesaw of childhood. Stephen Roach can make a reek with the skill of a bricklayer, the help of 2 handmaidens, and the patience of a saint. Looking at his handiwork, Stephen is reminded of a beehive hut, beloved of anchorites and saints in the Ireland of long ago, like, for instance, Fursey, the hermit saint of Clonacatubir. One night, when Fursey was livid with a hungry rage within his beehive hut, he lit the 4 rushlight candles of wrath and uttered his 4 terrible curses on the sinners of Kerry. I will burn the souls of those who leave their turf untended. I will burn the souls of those who steal the turf when it is untended. I will burn the souls of those who go pleasuring for love in the bogs at the fall of dark, and I will visit hell's fires on those who produce issue other than turf in the bog. And then we are told the 4 fires swept together and became as one, engulfing Fursey in a holocaust of flame, and he cried out, "O Lord God of angels, misericordia!" And the great archangel Michael came unto him and said, "Fursey, that charity which thou didst not kindle shall not burn within thee, but that hatred which thou didst kindle shall consume thee. Respice mundi, behold the world, And Furzy bowed his head and wept and was untouched, and was awarded a crown in heaven. But here on earth it is left to little Deirdre to crown Stephen's beehive with a humble hat in tribute to his elevation of the lowly sods. A benediction. The altar of autumn, russet red, aghast with adoration. Threshing day presents no problems to sportsman and farmer Michael Kennelly. Problem, how are you? Shouldn't he father the captain of a Kerry football team? And they say if he'd been given a break from his other duties, he'd have fathered the county team in his own row. I went up to Kennelly's one fine summer's day to help with the thrashing and partake of the tear. And I heard an old tractor and it snorting away. It was like the hee-haw of a jackass's bray. Then I thought of the horses we used long ago. They were ranished and a willing and not there for a show. They could pull half a mountain and take it in a tow. But now they're lying where the bright days go. As children we rode on their backs through the corn, when life seemed to be but one long summer's morn. And as young men we drove 'em, for the old tractor was born. And sure 'tis no wonder that my poor heart's forlorn. This was a great time for the mehel. The threshing worked greater wonders than separating the seed from the chaff. It united many lad and lass, and their wedding was never complete without a visit from the straw boys, or the soppers as we call them, with their masks and cloaks of straw, who danced to beat the band. No dancing, no row. You might as well expect that old yoke of a tractor outside to dance the Highland fling of the haggard. Well, now, back the road a bit from Coolard School is St. Bat's Well, where a pattern was held in honour of the saint every year on the 24th of August. St. Bartholomew's Day was the day when flails were made ready to thrash the harvest, and if a damaging high wind came rampaging about this time, it was said to be Bertli Nguiha, Bartholomew of the Wind, preparing his flail to thrash the backsides of the shabby fastooks in the lazy man's garden. No more shall flail swing o'er my head, nor my hand a spade shaft cover, but a banner of France will float instead, and the pike stand by the rover. Oh, and to Callan once, with my hook in hand, I'd go for early shearing, or to Dublin town the news was grand that the rover gay was nearing. And soon with good gold home I'd go, and my mother's corn flail over. But no more this land shall know the likes of the merry rover. But indeed, his living representation is to be found in the person of Mick the Yank, making a flail. And what Mick doesn't know about making a flail isn't worth knowing. That's the man will tell you by that there are 4 different ways of tying the flail. In the north now, for instance, a hole was bored through the top of the handstaff, and the tying was passed through the hole and bound to the end of the striker. In other parts, the tying was bound to the striker, but was looped around a groove in the handstaff, so that the striker would be resting in 2 grooves, one at the end of each of the sticks. But the best tying of all was accomplished when each of the sticks was fitted with a leather cap made by doubling a strong piece of hide over the end of the stick. The cap on the striker was firmly bound, but that on the handstaff was very cleverly secured on grooves, so that the handstaff could twist around inside it. The two caps were then fastened together by a middle band of leather. And soon with good gold home I'd go, and my mother's corn flail over, but no more this land shall know, the likes of the merry rover. O King of stars, whether my house be dark or bright, never shall it be closed against anyone, lest Christ close his house against me. If there be a guest in your house, and you conceal aught from him, it isn't the guest that will be without it, but Jesus, Mary's son, for he was in want of straw in the manger long ago. The magic of the open fire has engendered a host of omens and strange beliefs. The fire can give you warning of wind and weather, of lucky and unlucky visitors, of marriage and of death. Above all, it is a shrine to which our ancestral spirits return, a link with the living past. Of course, there were many charms, too, to be taken account of by a girl when she was searching for a husband, in the 18th century I'm referring to. Up the chimney stick the flail, sleep with a spade without avail, hide my wool in the lime kiln late, and my distaff behind the churchyard gate. The kitchen was not only the nerve centre of household and farmyard activity, but also the social centre of the house, where the family sat of nights and entertained their friends and themselves. The news of the 7 townlands was exchanged, stories told, and a ballad sung. Anyone who dropped in was advised to move up to the fire and take Horea's bullish docks like the skier, took up and take us blue to beer. But tonight, the spotlight of the kitchen lamp focuses everybody's attention on a very special act. On my right, Ned Sheehy, undisputed champion of Clonmackin, and on my left, Jim Toomey, the drum and dancer himself. And so, the old sparring partners enter the arena with their bultons. Agus begnis mona bulabasa sholoko. A good thrasher needs a good flail, and his motto is Colpon Quil agus bulton quillin, Lahran Chan agus bulle in aige funnin. A hazel handstaff and a holly striker, a springy floor, and a blow against the sheaf. Chaff and grain intermingled on the floor between the two doors. The front door was sited opposite the back door, so that when they were left ajar, the wind would blow the chaff afar, as effectively indeed as would any one of the great winnows. Flailing calls for skill in timing, so as not to interfere with your partner, especially during the hand swapping. Is he good man yourself? Rise to each style? Ma far. And you don't doubt it. There is an instinctive understanding existing between Ned and Jim, not at all unlike that which existed at midfield, either Crahura Brosnacorn, the great Con Brosnan, and Bob Stack in the palmy days of the kingdom's football glory. Hardy warriors, resolute men, beauty that bloomed when youth was gone, and strength transmitted from sire to son, Ireland's bulwark when fields were won. Aye, they flail the corn all right, but they'll flog themselves now. They've earned their bread by the sweat of their brow. Jim draws in his dudeen with every limb. He sits across the flag of amber fire. He blinks and nods and understands. A King Lear at last, who was coming to his own. In penal times, animals and poultry had to be kept in the house, because if the people were to build them outside accommodation, they would be subjected to extra rent, and so the old habit seems to linger on even here. Leave the young fella you can't you? But in August took a share you're doing yourself, give the creator a chance, will you? I'd be thinking God must laugh the time he makes a boy. All element the creatures are, and devilment and joy. Careless and gay as a wad in a window, swift as a red shanks, wild as a hare, heart scalds and torments, but Sarah, a mother, has got one to spare. O sons and daughters of the coming age, give worthy meed of gratitude and praise to those true souls who, in less happy days, have lived for others, most of all for you, have stored that wealth which is your heritage, and planned the work it will be yours to do. Ned now separates the men from the boys with a breath. A breath can mar them as a breath has made. I would like to have the men of heaven in my own house, with vats of good cheer laid out for them. I would like to have the three Marys, their fame is so great. I would like people from every corner of heaven. I would like them to be cheerful in their drinking. I would like to have Jesus too here among them. I'd like a great lake of beer for the King of Kings. I would like to be watching heaven's family through all eternity. I would like to be watching heaven's family through all eternity. In harvest time the corn was reaped, the grain dried and ground into meal, and the bread was kneaded, baked and eaten, all on the same day. Anish, the Banatee, prepares her mix of flour and milk, soda and salt in her lossid. She rolls and flattens it out, pats it all about, and coaxes the manna of heaven into a suitable mould for the bastable oven. The baked bread with the cross of the fisherman, dividing it into 4 fruitful provinces. For what this house affords us, come, let us praise the housewife most, who puts upon the table the cupboards full and plenty o, the tay the milk and the boiled pig's head, the butter too for flavouring of the bread. Give us this day and every day, nua gach bia, agus shanna gach dia. We lie down with God, and may God lie down with us. The right hand of God under our heads, the 2 hands of Mary round about us, the cross of the 9 white angels from the back of our heads to the soles of our feet. May we not lie with evil, and may evil not lie with us. Gentle Mary, noble maiden, give us help. Shrine of our Lord's body, casket of the mysteries, fair fragrant seat chosen by the King, the noble guest who was in thy womb 3 times 3 months. For the sake of his cross that is higher than any cross, be thou our safeguard in the kingdom of the good Lord. And it's Mick the Yank again, on Puncarnock, nor Lac Hus in America Eve. He's cutting sally twigs for scallops in his own backyard. These sallies should be cut when the moon is dark, otherwise the scallops would turn brittle, and in no time at all they would moulder into brewsker, and they would be quite incapable of patching Mick's roof and keeping out the elements. If Mick were alive and were to build a new house, he would use only the scallops made of bogdale, the remnants of the ancient Irish forests, and he would do so for this reason. The bogdale, having been seasoned to the hardness of iron in the bowels of the vasty bog for thousands of years, would last longer than any other material. Hail on the wheel on the scullop, says the Irish proverb, a maxim of warning to the thatchers to choose the right kind of weather for their work. The windy day is no day for scallops. It could be said too, I suppose, that the windy place isn't the place for scallops, for the type of roof known over most of Ireland, with each course of straw held neatly down by rows of scallops or withers, would stand very little chance against the Atlantic breeze. At the dark of the moon, when its light gave no ray, I cut for me some scallops for to keep the winds at bay. Now I'm pinning in the scallops, 'tis a fine and sunny day. My wheat is made of bogdale for to keep the rain away. Under the thatch with the kettle on the hob, the weather is no match for the scallops up on top. So I'm easy and contented with my lot down here below, and I've a neat little roof for the magpies and the crows. Oh, and I had a story about Mick the Yank. An American priest upbraided Mick one day for not keeping a promise to make him a crisp leader. 'Twas how Mick forgot it, The priest gave Mick a prod in the belly with his bother. There's a rogue at the end of that stick, Michael. Oh, that's right, father. But which end? It doesn't matter where you are in town, on foot or with horse, you're always within an ass's roar of the countryside. The ass and cart, the countryman's own little taxi. Two women are having a goster.
Around town yet, no, eh? We should know, honey. I only gave her in girl. Oh, did Josie come from America? Did he put on the new thatch? She missed the plane. The straw was damp.
A garret stack of the Rena whack kept a garden with no lack of flowers or hedge well clipped. A thatcher he with mind well dipped in nature's university. So he made free his knowledge to the lasses of the convent school's big classes, how to lift up learning's latch and study neat a roof of thatch. And the thatcher Willie Doyle of Knockon. Bespoke for weeks, he turned up some morning, unexpectedly, his bicycle slung with a light lather and a bag of knives. He eyed the old rigging, poked at the eaves, opened and handled sheaves of lashed wheat straw. Next, the bundled rods, hazel and willow, well flicked for weight, twisted in case they'd snap. It seemed he spent the morning warming up. Then fixed the ladder, laid out well-honed blades, and snipped at straw and sharpened ends of rods that, bent in two, made a white-pronged staple for pinning down his world, handful by handful. Couchant for days on sods above the rafters, he shoved and flushed the butts, stitched all together into a sloped honeycomb, a stubble patch, and left them gaping at his Midas touch. Ring-a-ring-a-rosies, a pocket full of posies, hush-a, hush-a, we all fall down. Ring-a-ring-a-rosies, a pocket full of posies, hush-a, hush-a, we all fall down. The anthem of the innocent and the beautiful, who have no enemy but time. Children, no matter whose, to watch for you with flowered faces at your garden gate, and one to watch the clock with eager eyes and say, "He's here! He's here! The Thatcher's here!" Sister Clare, the quiet nun, smiles in kindly affirmation. A nun's soft play is like the ray that lights the western heaven. We loved her when the sun was high, we loved her when it rose, but best of all when evening sigh was murmuring at its close. The infinite always is silent, like the roof on a quiet house. Our words are the idle wave caps on the deep that never breaks. We may question with wands of science, explain, decide and discuss, but only above the golden thatch does the mystery speak to us. There was one night when a fierce thunderstorm rent the heavens, and the thatcher went out and grabbed a handful of straw and made a St. Bridget's cross to save the house from being struck by lightning. St. Bridget's cross hung over the door, which did the house from fire secure. O faith it did, a powerful charm, to keep a house from taking harm. And though the dogs and neighbours slept, by Bridget's care the house was kept. Just as her hair is the crowning glory of every woman, so is the thatch the heavenly headwear of the humblest home. I wish you friends whose wisdom makes them kind, well-leisured friends to share your evening's peace, friends who can season knowledge with a laugh. A hedge of lavender, a patch of thyme, with sage and marjoram and rosemary, a damask rosebush and a hive of bees, and cabbages that hold the morning dew, a blackbird in the orchard boughs, all these, and a thatch, and God bless you. It's not for the common birds that I'd mourn, the blackbird, the corncrake, or the crane, but for the bittern that's shy and apart, and drinks in the marsh from the lone bog drain. White seagulls flashing like semaphores, like the spirits of charity brooding o'er pain. O sons and daughters of the coming age, give worthy meed of gratitude and praise to those true souls who, in less happy days, have lived for others, most of all for you, have stored that wealth which is your heritage, and planned the work it will be yours to do. Ah, a Haymaking, old husbandman of Erin's fruitful seed time, in the fresh track of danger's plough, who will walk the heavy, toilsome, perilous furrow, girt with freedom's seed sheets now? Who will banish with the wholesome crop of knowledge the flaunting weed and the bitter thorn, now that thou thyself art but a seed for hopeful planting against the resurrection morn. Every old man I see reminds me of my father when he had fallen in love with death, one time when sheaves were gathered. Every old man I see in October-coloured weather seems to say to me, I was once your father.
Agus ciol bin nen. Brick is meal together, crowr na ngob father, foi megan macalla, is lavach goni tren. An sinach ru an garing, marking is bang a dwok sa velach ag aro a quid ge. Ach nish tan chwil da gyara, tril hamid har chala, sa hian I gwir a gliana. Ta tu gan ge